Jack, there better not be alcoholic beverage.
Every time you mention wine, I end up having it. And I end up having the same brain you Mana, you just need to come over. I mean,
I second this statement.
Yes. We can make bracelets.
My mother was watching the waifu thingy and she was like, who's that one girl? She's like, what, the girl with the dreads? Who's that other girl? And I'm like, oh, that's Jack. And she's like, oh, what kind of girl is she? And I'm like, oh, she's a sweet girl. She's a little gory, a little violent, a little blunt, but she's warm at the same time. I don't know. It's a little weird, but she's a good person.
I'm like a period, basically.
Wait.
Oh my gosh.
I missed it. It went over my head. Are we talking about the sentence?
It's okay. I would love to meet your mother as well.
Are you guys all ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Waifu Watch Podcast, episode 2. I'm Annie, this is Danielle and Mana and Jaqueline and Shelby.
We're going to be on the side of the screen when you
yeah, you're on this side of the screen.
Somewhere.
It's fine.
So here at Waifu Watch, due to COVID-19, we thought we could use this opportunity to try doing a podcast. So this is our episode 2.
Y'all are only getting that notification one more time. And you better know we're doing it during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We're giving you 3 episodes to catch up.
So our overarching theme going forward is naturally going to be anime, but we'll probably throw in some other content as well as it goes along. We have 3 main goals for each episode, like 3 bullet points that we're going to try and meet. The first one is learning about pop culture with a main focus on Japan. Second is sharing personal stories and commentary to reveal more about our own personalities and develop a more real and deeper connection with our Waifu Watch community. And the third one is recommending anime to our viewers based on the week's theme. So today's theme is my first anime. So at the end of the episode, we'll probably recommend some anime for beginners.
Yes, yeah.
But of course, each episode will probably change things up slightly with the addition of games, special guests, and more media culture-centric discussions. But at its core, it'll probably be anime-related. So with that, let's kick off the show.
Woohoo!
Woo!
You should have some little game time. He's like, do.
Yes.
Thin wheel or something.
So for the first part, the first bullet point is culture and history, kind of. So I'll do like a short little paragraph of what is anime and what makes it different than other cartoons and shows on television. And at the end, I'll ask for like commentary and things like that. And then we'll go into Q&A, and then we'll do anime recommendations. Sounds good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Sweet. Okay. So
He is so cute. I wanted to say that too.
So a little bit of background history. Before the official televised anime, Japan had a history of a few animated films, such as The Thief of Baguda Castle by Ofuji Noburo, who made the film entirely out of cut and pasted Japanese colored paper known as chiogami.
Wait, like construction paper?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
God, that's some effort.
Yeah. And then after World War II, Toei animation began to steadily grow thanks to 2 individuals, Takahata Isao and Miyazaki Hayao, who later created Studio Ghibli together. In 1963, Osamu Tezuka's
I didn't know he started Toei.
Mm-hmm. He did.
I'm not sure what Toei is.
Well, he was hired by Toei and then started.
Toei's been around
Studio
forever.
Ghibli. Mm-hmm.
Amy, I would like to say your pronunciation, hunty.
So in 1963, Osamu Tezuka's Astro Boy was released on Fuji TV and sparked the genre known as anime. So Astro Boy was really the launching point.
Wasn't there? So Astro Boy is the start of everything?
However,
Really? Out of all
Yeah.
the things we started Astro Boy? Okay.
Then in the 80s, with the internationally awarded film Spirited Away by Studio Ghibli, anime caught the world's attention. And it was the beginning of an entire culture of anime lovers across the world. So really it started with Astro Boy, but Spirited Away really launched it into the world.
That's my ish.
It's part of our culture. Oh, he's gonna cry because I dissed his waifu.
Did that happen? Like Astro Boy was picked up and redone by Disney, or was it DreamWorks, or was it Pixar?
I thought it was a video game.
No,
that's right. Recently, wasn't Astro Boy recreated into?
I think
sounds right.
It sounds familiar.
About right.
I
don't remember who did it though.
Yeah, Spirited Away was my shit. It made me like first anime hungry. Like the first time I went
anime hungry,
like, anime food. Like I swear, if I could just try that, like my life would be complete. Like that's
Miyazaki anime food is like next level. How good it looks.
Oh god,
it's so squishy looking.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
because they put like the shine on it, and so everything just
so
looks like
and
so perfect. Yeah. So we really do owe everything to like Miyazaki. Like. like literally.
And then the last little point is what makes anime so different than other cartoons, which I'd like to hear your opinion on this. So is that the main focus audience isn't just children, it's a generational creation. So what do you think makes anime different than like cartoons or animated movies?
Call us out so we don't talk over each other. Just to say.
Oh, okay.
Are we going down the line?
It depends on how your screen is oriented.
Yeah, Annie, call us out. Call us out.
Okay, Jack, what do you think?
I feel like anime comes with its own type of artwork with it. Like if you look at Disney, you can look at Disney and say that's a Disney film. When it comes to anime, there's definitely different types of music, there's different types of categories, but they all kind of have like this pencil-esque sketch. The artwork really reflects the mangas a lot of times. And I think that's one of the things that really stands out about anime, as well as the directing of anime. I feel like anime has like a very different way that they shoot films and scenes, just as how they just tell the story of it. I think so as well. And the voice acting is way different. I think in anime, there's way more grunts. There's way more like,
for the rest of us, Jack.
Anyway, that's what I think. Next person. He's loving blush, and I'm too pale for that shit.
Does anyone want to go next, or Shelby? Do you want to go?
I mean, I don't think I've seen enough anime to like really like point out the differences yet, because like JoJo is one of the only ones I've ever seen. We're watching Code Geass now, and like I watched Pokemon too, but I feel like that one's like really Americanized, especially since I didn't, as a child, I didn't watch it in subs. I watched it in dubs.
I don't think anybody did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was really like more, it's probably one of the most, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably one of the most Americanized animes that there is.
What, Pokemon?
Yeah, Pokemon.
The 90s dub is pretty like localized.
Yes, the 90s dub is pretty great.
Dragon Ball Z is up there, if that's not the most popular Americanized.
Yeah.
Really? Dragon Ball? Ooh, maybe. No, because I feel like Dragon Ball Z doesn't hit enough of a genre, enough of a crowd, essentially. I feel like Pokemon has a higher reach.
It does, and it has a higher following, but Dragon Ball Z is also, I feel like older generations kind of grew with it, whereas Pokemon's still popular today over generations, versus Dragon Ball Z is like, yeah, we know about it. That's like a 90s baby thing, in my opinion, about it.
Yes.
Oh no, everyone's freezing.
Danielle, do you want to go next?
Sure.
No, everyone's freezing.
Poor Mana.
Slight technical difficulties.
But Shelby, I have a question. How do
Yeah.
you feel like anime differs than cartoons that you've seen, like just growing up?
Okay, not to be controversial, but talking is a free action. There's not a lot of that, I feel like, in American cartoons.
Yes.
But
someone in the comments is gonna be salty.
I know.
Ooh, they'll be starting something.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's different. It's like reading, like it reminded me of how voiceovers and like other and like different like films and everything, but they're still doing something in the voiceovers, as whereas with JoJo, they're not, he's just talking to talk and they're not showing what he's doing over it. And it's like reading a book, I feel like, which I think goes hand in hand with being like a manga and everything. So that's one of the biggest things I noticed.
Good point.
I don't know.
That's a really interesting, good perspective.
The change in JoJo's change in the how it changes colors a lot. At least the American cartoons that I've seen doesn't do that, and I thought that was super cool because it makes it different, it makes it fun, and I really liked that aspect of it. And I don't see that in a lot of American animation and cartoons. So those would definitely be the two major things, at least with watching JoJo, that stuck out to me as not being the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Nice. Very nice.
Love you, Shelby.
So Danielle.
I guess like one of the biggest things, which I guess it's not based off of manga, but like so many people have issues with like filler episodes in anime, and like with Western cartoons, it's not really a thing. Like, because we don't know like where the story is supposed to be going technically. And when it's like an original anime, obviously we don't either. But with stuff like, you know, Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, like any of those, especially in the 90s, was very like filler heavy, where it's like, oh, here's just a thing that wasn't ever in the manga, and it's in, you know, the series now just because we're trying to crank out more content, or they don't want to get caught up too fast. Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of becoming a little bit more westernized now because a lot more shows are willing to hold and wait production until they have more source material. And funnily enough, I don't know if anyone knows the video I'm talking about, but Gintama did a really good explanation of like why filler exists in anime and how they have like the plot line going in an arrow, and then when everything gets caught up, it kind of has to like snake around it until everything gets caught up. And so, but that's just like a big thing in anime. And obviously, like what Jaqueline said, art style and music, it's like, it's just so different than Western animation. But yeah.
Yeah. So Mana, what do you think makes anime different than other cartoons?
Well, I think firstly, obviously animation is a really big part. I find that the eyes are usually my biggest telltale giveaway when it comes to trying to identify, did this come from Japan? Was this originally American? Usually the eyes give it away. But I think that's a big part. I think the voice acting is very different, I think, over there. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's more effort done into voice acting in Japan. I feel like it's definitely something that is a heavier focus is put on that. I also feel like I can't remember, someone said something about the pauses. I feel like the sentence structure is almost different as well in the way they talk to each other and how plot is devised. It's just plot works a little different when it comes to anime compared to American cartoons. Plus, there's a lot of themes in American cartoons that you see that show up in lots of American cartoons. So it's like, aha, I know that that's a reference to da-da-da, or that's like something that's done here. I feel like there's a lot of that goes on in anime as well. But if you don't watch a lot of it, it's hard to catch some of the things like how Sailor Moon started everything and space cowboy stuff. And so I think there's big differences in that, obviously because of culture. Yeah, I also just really feel like I can watch multiple episodes upon episodes of anime without realizing like so much time has gone by, because you get so sucked into it, because they tend to be very plot heavy compared to, I find American cartoons almost a little too simple for me. Sometimes I like watching American cartoons like Star versus the Forces of Evil and things like that. But Americans are just a little bit more simpler, I find, than
That's fair. Well, kind of like building off of that though, like I feel like, which is so funny because a lot of people in a Western audience feel the opposite. I feel like anime is very like cross-generational.
Mhm.
Like there's definitely anime that's specifically like for kids or for adults, but like everything that falls in the middle, like you can be almost any age and get something out of it and still find it enjoyable, I think personally, but that's just me.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to the main focus audience isn't just children, it's a multi-generational kind of statement before.
Yeah, going off of what Mana said, also like Western cartoons being so simple. I think anime, when you get into it, you know you're getting a storyline that's gonna go one by one by one by one, usually. Whereas American cartoons, like it's hard to get into them for like in just my case because it's so random. It's like one day they're doing one thing, one day they're doing another. Like I like having that consistency of okay, we're getting somewhere, we're going on a journey versus just sporadic adventures. Like I can't concentrate on it.
Concentration.
Yeah, Western shows tend to be very like a capsule where it's like, this is what's happening this episode. We're never going to talk about it again. It's like a very singular, but I feel like that's because they want people to be able to jump in at any point, because it's like, if you jump in episode, 5 of almost any anime, you're going to be like, okay, I don't know what's happening. And there's all these characters. While with Western cartoons, I think they're trying to just amass viewers. And like, honestly, but because of that, there's less of a payoff. Like when you've been following a storyline for 25 episodes and it finally culminates into something really cool, like that's more rewarding than like, oh, these were some funny, like 12-minute, 24-minute episodes.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a whole episode devoted to anime and cartoons, the kind of relationship between them. So I'm going to go ahead and jump us forward to the 3 Q&A questions about our first animes. If that's
all
cool.
right. Let's do it.
Okay. So the first question is, when and how did you discover anime? So,
are we saying this like consciously choosing to go watch it, or unconsciously watching it, like the start of everything, or like the conscious start of everything?
That's a good clarification. So I'm gonna say that it's how you discovered it,
okay,
rather than consciously seek it out.
Yes. Okay.
Cool. So, Mana, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So I'm pretty sure my childhood memories are fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure it was Dragon Ball Z. When I was very younger, I lived on and off like with my dad, and he didn't have TV. So he just had a bunch of VHS tapes, and he just had piles of VHS tapes of Dragon Ball Z. So I would just like watch them. And it'd be like random ones too. So I wouldn't really know the full story plot, but I still got a lot out of it. And so that's what started me with anime. I believe. What was the other question?
Oh yeah, when and how. So like when you were a child and through VHS tapes. Yeah.
Probably 6 in the basement watching Dragon Ball Z.
Nice.
So cute.
Jaqueline, you want to go next?
Sure. Okay. It was Cartoon Network. And like I grew up with a lot of older cousins, so Dragon Ball Z was on, but I never sat and watched it. It was one of those shows that were just like the older kids watch, so it was like whatever. But when I actually sat down, I was like, ooh, what is this? It was Studio Ghibli, Princess Mononoke, and I was around 10, and it was on Toonami on Cartoon Network.
Toonami!
Right? It was like
shout out to Toonami.
Right, and it was just on, and I was just like, what is this? And I remember just loving the artwork because my mom would buy me like old school fairy tale books that were like painted and had that scenery. So I was like, oh my God, like this is my ish off tops. And then after that, Inuyasha came on. I was hooked, like, but I never could find it again. Like it took years for me to like go through my memory bank. It was like, what was that movie that I watched? And just by searching through it, I found like a whole bunch of shit. And I've never been normal again.
It's a good way to put it.
Right.
Danielle?
Okay, so as you can see by my shirt, my first anime was Sailor Moon.
Oh my God!
I also have the silver imperial crystal necklace because I'm a nerd. But essentially, gosh, I was probably like 6, 7, and somewhere in that range. And funnily enough, I actually read the manga first because, no joke, I was on vacation with my family in Florida at a Books A Million and saw they had this beautiful stand of all of the like original printings of all of the manga. And I saw the cover of the first book and was like, what is this? Because it's like the most beautiful illustration. And like Nako Taguchi is an incredible artist. And so look it up. And it's like, that's what captured my attention. And I literally read it in one night and begged my parents to go back to the store the next day so I could buy like 3 more. And I was just like binge reading it. And then when I got home, I saw it on Toonami and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a TV show. Like, and it was incredible. And like the thing for me that really hooked me was one, having a cast of all female, like kick butt girls who were saving the world, but still were like really vulnerable, like was really cool to see that representation. And also being Japanese myself, like seeing a cast of like all Japanese people was like, or at least, you know, they're supposed to be Japanese, even in like the dubs and everything. I was like, oh, like that's me, like that's somebody like me. And so I could like relate to it really hard. And I just like fell in love with it. And then it all just branched out from there. And like Jaqueline, I have never been normal since.
Shelby, what was your first initial introduction into the anime world?
Well, like initial, it didn't really like propel me into anime, as we all know. But Pokemon, obviously, I'm also repping a Pikachu. But I actually don't know if I started playing like the games on like Game Boy or if I started watching the shows first, which I think is kind of funny because I played it on like a Game Boy SD, like Sapphire, Ruby, Fire Red, and all that jazz. And but yeah, I definitely remember watching. We had a bunch of like VHS tapes of Pokemon and like Mana with the Dragon Ball Z. It wasn't like every episode of Pokemon, but it was like all these random ones. Like the one that I have in my mind is when Ash has Pikachu fight a Raichu and he has to like think about if he wants to evolve.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So sad because Pikachu felt so sad and I was just like, oh my God. But I didn't even register it as like, I don't know if you got as anime or as something different than like a normal cartoon, which, so I didn't like, I think a couple years ago, I learned it was technically under anime, which is cool, but it didn't lead me down the path of watching more anime because it wasn't really accessible in that way to me. Because this was like when I was a lot younger, and it's not like we didn't have like computers at our fingertips or streaming services at our fingertips where we can just watch other stuff. So yeah, that's where it started for me.
For me, it was Inuyasha. I was a little late to the game. But I remember distinctly watching the ending credits of Inuyasha for the first season with like those red flowers.
Yes.
That are like in the ending credits. And I remember thinking this is so beautiful. And like, I remember just being really touched by these red flowers for some reason. So, and it was really late at night. Like I had stayed up like way past my bedtime. I was like 11 or 12 or something. And I had to do it the next night and the next night. And I got like so little sleep that I was like falling asleep in class and stuff. So, but Inuyasha, yeah.
Can anyone hear my kids going wild in the bedroom? Because okay,
that is a phrase you might not want to say out of context.
They're Tasmanian devils. They have like popcorn and they are having movie night. They have their
that's fun.
Gave them
that's
popcorn,
so cute.
bro.
Yeah, they're having a camp out. I made them a little tent in their rooms.
That's amazing.
Aw.
You're a fantastic mother.
Thank
That's
you.
so fun.
I just hear them and I'm like, I hope y'all.
I cannot hear them at all.
No,
Like I have not heard them at all.
Okay.
Kids,
Ooh.
what kids?
See, I got 3 of them. I swear, but this waist is snatched.
But yeah,
I really want to borrow that choker.
It's so fun. It's my only like extreme choker that I have, and I want more. I'm like, ooh, this is edgy. Give me more.
Want it so bad. I was looking like she did it again. My aesthetic. Give it back.
I have multiple aesthetics. I promise. They're all me. They just pop out either together or separately or just mixed.
It's okay because me and Annie are gonna dance like pretty fairy witch housewives, and we're gonna drink tea.
Wait, we're gonna do what?
like what are our plans? I don't remember agreeing.
I thought we were gonna have a medieval feast.
That too. I forgot about that.
We have so many things that we all need to do once we can like be in the office together, because I still have a ton of snacks from, remember when we were going to do snack pong on the ping pong table at the office? And so I have a bunch of snacks that we can put into cups, and they've just been sitting at my house, and it makes me sad.
You know how like BuzzFeed has Tasty? I can't wait for us to do like waifu, like I don't know what we're gonna call it, but just do like recipes and just have like the stop motion.
We have to call it Food Wars, don't we? Like,
Oh, are we allowed to call that legally? Is that?
We can make it
waifu.
funny.
Have we put waifu in the first part?
yeah, Waifu Food Wars. There we go.
Because it's already waifu wars. It's under that. So, oh snap! Well, now y'all get a little comment. Now that y'all done got a sneak snippets. Damn it! Yeah, they always get stuff out of us. How do they do
My hair, there's like 80 clips in my head of just little metal things.
Oh, honey, I know. Did you watch them last night, or did you
Just
just
got them done like 2 hours ago.
All right.
Producer.
I don't know. I didn't want to say their names.
Yeah, don't say
Our
their names.
bosses.
I don't think we're supposed
Our
to
bosses.
yet.
Bosses. Yeah, we're not supposed to know that. We're
But
Yeah.
like the Q&A, people are asking and everything.
Yeah.
So like, what can we?
They're
reveal?
who's asking? People are asking.
Like the Q&A, they're asking how we met.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
You'll just have to find out.
Yeah.
Oh,
slumber party, like a waifu live on Instagram, like
oh, that'd be cute.
That would be cute.
slumber party. Then you can ask all your questions, and we'll think about it.
We've got a lot of things in the
We
works
can
that
dress
we want to
cute
do.
and we can give them fan service. They can suggest outfits to Turpa. We will have
Or not that.
I'm not
Or not that.
Or not that, but-
I already had this discussion. I'm not doing it.
raise money.
So, question
Anyway.
number 2.
Put on our OnlyFans.
Back.
So what was your first anime that you sought out? Or so not your initial one, but your first one that you like chose to watch, and what was your reaction to it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yes. So, for example, the first one I sought out was Naruto, and my reaction to it was all consuming. Like, I brought it into middle school with me. I wore the ninja headband. I did the training chakra things with my
Amazing.
friends. Like, it was intense.
That's incredible.
Yeah, like it just sparked something in me that was just like, I totally want more, and I want all of it right now.
Mhm, mhm.
And you got the Sakura hair color, and while you talk about it, like
And they
Yeah.
would make a great
Sakura cosplay novel.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my first anime that I saw out was Inuyasha. Second was Naruto. But that was because I had fell asleep and I was rewatching episodes and it was still going. But anyway, Inuyasha thus far, because on Toonami it only got to the band of 7. And then it started the whole season over. So I never got past the band of 7, which is still my favorite season because that's all I had. But after that, once they were like, oh, go to Naruto.com. Maybe it's still
Naruto.com.
You can watch all the Inuyasha. So that's when I was like, yes, I'm finally going to see what happened. And that led to like, damn, they did final act. And now that I think about it, that was like years later and I was still waiting for it. So that goes to show like your first anime really does stick with you and you really want more from it, even years and years after that. So Inuyasha, I still watch it. Shishomaru Bay.
Shishomaru's yummy.
Nice.
Shelby, what about you?
Well,
we know your first anime.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to it? How do you feel about it?
Does it make you want to watch more?
Yes.
Yes, I thought this was so fun. The like supernatural element of like vampires is very up my alley. I read fantasy books. I like sci-fi type of stuff. And I feel like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure like took elements of like all of my favorite like genres and stuff that's not anime. So in reality, I don't know how it ended up this way. This was almost like the perfect starting point for me, which I thought was super cool. Yeah, and it was animated really fun. I mentioned it before. I liked how the battle scenes, they changed like the different colors. I also thought the music was fun as well, how that was incorporated and everything, which because you don't see a lot of that in films or American television. And when it does think about stuff like that, it's really cool to know that people put in the people that wrote it and put it together, put in the effort to think about that. And it's just fun making all those connections.
Oh, Shelby makes me feel so warm inside.
Right? I'm like, oh my God.
Innocence, just like, right.
Well, Mana, what about you?
The first anime that I consciously watched, I'm pretty sure was trying to figure out if it was Sailor Moon or Tokyo Mew Mew. I think it was Sailor Moon. And then Sailor Moon led me to Tokyo Mew Mew later. But it was Sailor Moon. I remember it was like the summer of like when I was maybe it was about 8 or 9, and I just remember my mom getting a new laptop because she had a really old one that she didn't let anybody touch and she did stuff on, but then she finally got a new one, so like we got the old one. And so I just remember like waiting my turn and then like taking the laptop when everyone was asleep, and I would like sift through like different animes, and then I found like Sailor Moon. I can't remember what drove me to it, but I realized that was what I wanted to watch. I just remember like sitting on the floor in the living room with no lights on, trying to be really quiet because that was like where the couch was, even though I didn't sit on the couch for some reason. And I would just watch episode after episode after episode, and I would just lose so much sleep. And I would just, it was all I'd ever do when I had my turn on the computer. And I was like, wow, this is what I want to be. I'm going to be a sailor. I'm going to get the skirt and I'm going to beat up people and it's going to be cool. And I was so inspired. I was like, look at the colors. Look at the rainbows. It was great. Loved it. Very magical feeling. Very, very visual experience for me.
Nice.
Oh,
are you all right?
Are you okay?
Mana's dying, guys. It's
Hairball.
What's what?
I love Daddy. I miss you.
I miss you
Danielle?
too, dear.
What's one?
Okay, so y'all are gonna judge me super hard, and I'm fully
I'm
aware
already
of
judging.
that. But so like I don't know if it was just like my dumb kid brain / I didn't have like Cartoon Network for a really long time, so I didn't get Toonami. And also like I went through a phase in middle school where I was like, I don't want to like anime because it's like people are going to think I'm weird and I want everyone to like me, you know, blah, blah, blah. So like I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit. But if it was like anything Sailor Moon related, I was like down. And so like I had like VHS tapes of like recorded episodes, and like I had all the movies on VHS. And so I would just like rewatch those over and over and over again and try and like stifle that anime loving nerd down. Yeah, no, literally. And then like in high school, I started reading manga again. And that's like what I did for a really long time. I honestly didn't think about like, oh, go watch anime, because I was like, Toonami's not a thing anymore. Like, where do you even get it? You know, like I didn't really know what to do. So I was just like, oh, I'll just read a bunch of manga. And literally the catalyst that brought me back was Yuri on Ice.
Really?
Which is, which is like 4 years ago, which is not that long. And
that's pretty recent, Danielle.
It is. And so, you know, it was just like one of those things where I saw, because that's when Tumblr was alive and well. And I was like a huge, like on Tumblr all the time. And I kept seeing like GIFs of Yuri on Ice. And I'm like, I need to watch this show. And I was like, what's it on? I was like, oh, Crunchyroll. Yeah, that's a thing. And then watched it and got caught up, because it was already like 10 episodes in, and I got caught up in like 2 days. And then I was like, wow, okay, this is my life. And why have I been like denying this part of me for 10 years? And then just went down the rabbit hole even deeper. And it was great. But yeah, it took me like a while to like come back, because like there is that stigma of being like, anime, you're weird. And when you're a middle schooler, that's terrifying when people are like, oh, I don't like you because you're different. Because I got made fun of a lot in elementary school for being Asian. And so I was like, no, I don't need your sympathy. No, I didn't say it because of that. I just said it as in like,
saying off for tiny Danielle.
Yeah. Well, because like so one of the things that I like brought in one time was I have original like Japanese Pokemon cards. And so like the backs are different, and they say like pocket monsters on them. And I thought they were like super cool. And so I brought them to school one time, and I was like, guys, look at these. And I got made fun of a bunch because they're like
probably super expensive.
No, but people were like, oh, why is that in a different language? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know. Like
uncultured line.
Well, yeah. And so I was like, oh, this is like a part of me that like I was proud of, but nobody else was proud of. And so I was like, okay, I'll just keep this to myself.
Kids are terrible people.
Kids are terrible.
But they
kids are mean.
Yeah.
So mean. What the frick is with kids? I hate kids. Not really.
They are just they just say whatever they think, and they don't think about how that like affects another kid.
I also think like kids mimic. So if they see people, then they go off of that. And it's not until they develop their own sense of identity, then they start to really think about things. But if that's the case, all they're doing is mimicking at certain ages. And I think that goes along. Western society, we're not going to get into it, but like just piggyback.
Don't get me started on Western society.
Right? But piggyback off of Danielle, like there was a time where I only watched anime because I feel like that's the only thing that stimulated me. Mm-hmm. Anime is like so out the box, and even though if you're going sci-fi, if you're going horror, if you're going fantasy, like you see things you're not going to see in like American cartoons or like American live action,
sure
anything. So like with me, I was like, this ain't my shit. Like okay, but I don't want to watch this. I'm gonna watch this dude get his head blown off because your CG and your special effects does not give me the same feeling tingling in my stomach as this guy getting his brains everywhere on this anime that looks more realistic. Right. So that's like more.
I also think that's part of why it took me so long to get back into it, is because I think my mom was like, Toonami comes on Adult Swim, like you don't need to be watching this at the age you're at least like some of it. Like they would show like Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon like after school, but any of the other stuff was like usually late at night. And she's like, I don't think you need to be watching this. And so I was just like a Sailor Moon kid for like 15 years.
We have to do censored versus uncensored as well.
That's true. That's true.
So the last question is, how has anime influenced you? So, like I kind of described, bringing it to school with me and things like that. But more at a deeper level, like has it influenced you to want to do other things within the anime culture? Or how has it motivated you or inspired you to do something? Does anyone want to go first? Mana?
Crap, I was gonna figure out how I was gonna start, but it's fine. Say the question one more time because I wanted to say a specific thing, but it just...
How has anime influenced you or inspired you?
I don't know who I would be without anime. As cringy as that feels to say, a lot of who I am is based from what I know, because from anime is where I learned decora fashion, and decora fashion is where I found my sense of identity in high school when I was still trying to figure out who I was. And so I strongly attached myself with that aesthetic. And so in my apartment, everything around me is colorful and it's rainbow and it's cutesy, and it's because it's like God, it's just what I feel most comfortable in now. And I almost my personality, not as anime, but like my mannerisms. Growing up watching anime, I grew up to become a slightly dramatic person. Per not myself said someone else. I don't think I'm dramatic. I just think I'm a little over the top sometimes, but that's just my normal. But it's definitely shaped my fashion, how I feel about myself. I am currently learning, what is it, the hiragana and katakana alphabet. I'm working to memorize them. This is my second try, so we're gonna see if I get through it. I've got
good luck.
Thank you. But I also have been thinking recently about how maybe I want to go to Japan and teach English because I want to experience the Japanese culture more. But that's also scary because I'm uprooting and leaving and things like that. So it's still a very big, far off decision, but anime has kind of just influenced my life entirely. It's over consuming, and once it's there, it never goes away.
This is true.
I think you have an addicting personality. I think you liked it.
I have an addictive personality?
Wait, what does that mean?
Does that mean I get addicted to things easily?
Yeah.
See,
like,
Danny got it. Danny got it.
No, because like I'm the same way, so like I feel that.
She understood what I was saying. I think I think once you like something, that's just your norm and you're comfortable with that.
Oh yeah.
Because
there's still an emo scene kid down in here somewhere.
Oh yeah. I was just wearing my butt on the dance floor shirt like 2 days ago. Like there's so many me's at this point. There's a lot. I mean, sometimes I have to cycle through them. Yeah.
Danielle.
Oh goodness, let me think about this. So how has it influenced me or like affected my life? So it really made me, like, the more I got into it and the more I watched it, like it made me kind of like what Mana said, feel a lot more comfortable with like myself and be like, okay, this is like a part of me. And that, like, you know, all those like overblown stereotypes of how people who like anime are, like, that's a very small minority. And a lot of them are just really cool people like us who like their anime. And I kind of started like working my way to like telling people that this is like a big part of me and something I enjoy. And anime has become a lot more mainstream in the past like 2-3 years, where like professional football players and like Michael B. Jordan all are like, yeah, I love anime. And it's kind of becoming like, yeah, like a cool thing. And like the tipping point for me was like going to my first con, because that was like the feeling of just like, I'm home, like where it's like all these people who like love the same thing that you do, and everyone's just so excited to be there. It was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. And like people are in cosplay and people are selling merchandise of stuff that, like, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, you can buy a pillow with Tuxedo Mask on it or something, you know. And it's like all these things that I was like, okay, this is like totally normal, and there's all these other cool people like me who also like this thing. And so it's just really neat to like be in that community. And so, and it really helped me like kind of, not that I was never like ashamed of it, but be like super proud of my Asian heritage and just be like, yeah, like I'm Japanese and this is super cool because we have this, like, yeah. And so it's kind of like just this thing. And like, it really kind of also pushed me over the edge of like my first trip to Japan, because I was like, this is something I've always wanted to do. And I like was trying to wait on my family to go, and I had college graduation money, and I was like, I'm just gonna go by myself. And it was great. And I've been back since. And so it was just like all these things. And so now it feels like I'm kind of like, okay, this is who you are as a person. And it's like totally fine that you're like that. And so I don't know. I know it's super cheesy, but that's where I am in life.
So Danny, damn.
Nah.
Do I want Chinese food?
I think anime has influenced and inspired me in really concrete ways, because when I was like 10 or 11, I really picked up sewing, and really I didn't have anything that I wanted to make. And then whenever I saw the costumes and the outfits in anime, I thought to myself, I really want to make those. So it really propelled that hobby and that talent of inside of me to make cosplay. So that's really one of the things that anime influenced me to do. Was it influenced my hobby, and then it kind of grew from there.
That's so cool. I always wanted to be able to make my own cosplay, but I am not that talented at sewing.
Woo! I feel that.
Shelby, has JoJo inspired you to do anything recently, or seek out anything, or?
I mean, I wanted to talk about it from this perspective because as you guys feel about anime and everyone that's watching is like, I'm a huge like film buff in general, television buff, like in theater. I majored in theater and minored in telecommunications and film screenwriting in college. So anime is just like another avenue for that obsession, I feel like.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So it's just like another thing that I can watch, that I can consume in that type of way, because it's just like another television show that I can watch and like analyze and talk about and connect with people on. And I think that's what's so important to me about film, is like the connection through it and everything. So how it has influenced me is that I get to connect with you guys, and I wouldn't know you guys if we weren't watching JoJo, and I get to connect with our audience and everything. And I think that's the best part about pop culture, like this type of stuff, is that you can find themes and things you like in them and connect to people around you. And it's a great way to make friends and all that.
That's so sweet. Oh my goodness.
I got diabetes now because she's so
Jack, what about you?
Anime has like literally been my drug of choice. I've always had like a dark, I wouldn't call it an aesthetic, but I grew up like reading Spawn and like going into DC and Marvel. So anime was just something that was way on my interest, but so outside the box. Like I grew up when Aladdin first came out on DVD, and it was like a 2-disc set. I watched the second disc, and on the second disc, it shows you the process of the writing. It shows you the process of the artwork. It shows you the behind the scenes. And with anime, even though it's so big, there's this, when it crosses over, there's like very select voice actors. So I just loved watching them work. And that kind of just made me feel like, wow, you really have an interest in this. What are you going to do with it? But on top of that, I had to go ahead and have, the way it inspired me the most is it just intrigued me. Like when, especially with Studio Ghibli films, you see things that you can't put into words, like the way the bubbles look on Ponyo, or like just the mindset behind it, like the thought process of, oh my God, someone really thought of this and made it visible for all of us to share. You know, being a horror writer, that's what I like to do. I just, you know, I like to create little worlds, and seeing them do that makes you, it like sparks thoughts in your head. And that's something you can't really buy. It's either you have that effect on people or you don't. And I feel like I get that mostly with anime. Like I'd rather watch the Hulk versus Thor. I know that's not an anime, but you know what I'm saying, versus watching the actual live action Avengers. That's just me. You get just more. You get things that you wouldn't see in real life, but those are someone's thoughts. in a way. So I like the brilliance of it. Like, wow, he's very creative. Like, oh my God, someone really thought of this. Like, someone really drew this. That's what I think about when I watch anime. Like, wow, they really know their shit. Like, that's how I get amped. So it inspires me. I just love it.
Not to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't know if we're recording anymore because the little red light's not on in the corner, and I don't know when it dropped off.
Oh God! Oh God! It was such fucking content. I can't do it.
It might have been when we extended the meeting time. It might have stopped recording.
Hold on 1 second. My kids called me. 1 second.
Okay. Should we message our editor? Jack, are you frozen?
Jack, buddy? Pretty sure I got bills.
That's a little
I can hear, but
everyone's frozen. Hey, you guys, I realized I had the webcam hooked up the whole entire time. The only difference was when I unplugged it, that's when I realized it was working. So, yeah.
Nailed it. Nailed it. I need to get better lighting. I'm too brown to have these dark lighting going on.
Melanin popping. Coco Brown. Goddess. Damn.
My neighbor was throwing stuff out, and so I went through a box because she was like, oh, you can take whatever you want. And I found this ball, and I think it's a pet ball, but it makes the weirdest fucking noise.
I was not expecting that.
That's a strange noise.
It's so disturbing but intriguing. I love it. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I'm glad I found it.
Oh my God, you guys, that was so beautiful and heartfelt and just genuine. I'm gonna be so pissed if that didn't record.
I have a feeling it didn't.
Oh my God, Danny, I jump rope for 10 minutes and I did like 90 leg raises, hip rate, something. My ass hurt.
Okay, Jack is back. Mana is gone for some reason.
Any Japanese influencers out there, please slide in our DMs, especially if you're sexy. I said it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we're back, if you guys could recommend one anime to start off with, like for beginners, what would it be and why?
Just one?
Yep, just one.
Oh. Okay.
I'm going to go first because I'm going to take it.
Okay.
You know what? I'm going to let y'all have it because I know someone's going to say it, and when y'all say it, I'm going to be like, haha, I knew it. So I'm going to give it unconventional. I changed my mind. I suggest Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay.
Because it has a little bit of spiritualism in it. So it's very unconventional, but they talk hella shit in Yu Yu Hakusho. If you like fighting, if you like just people like, oh, you dumbass, and just dub or sub, it is brilliant. And there's so many twists and turns in it that with the story plot, you don't see it coming, but it's realistic. A lot of animes shit happens and you're like, where the fuck did that come from? But Yu Yu Hakusho is very down to earth. It's very just relatable. High school kids that don't give a fuck. But at the same time, it has that mystical side that makes you think like, wow, this is kind of dope. So if you're not used to that type of thing, this is a great introduction into the world of anime. Because anime is not really, even when they talk about traditional aspects such as sports, such as food, there's still this otherworldly aspect about it. So you need to get into it like somewhere down the line. And I think Yu Yu Hakusho is that perfect blend.
Nice.
Okay. It's not my personal favorite, nor is it my personal best genre, but I think Attack on Titan has a pretty, just because it's such an, once you start watching, you get so wrapped up in it. And if I'm thinking of like the first anime that I want someone to see, I feel like it'd be very easy to get them hooked on Attack on Titan because it's very suspenseful. Even for people who aren't really into action animes, like personally myself, I'm not, but Attack on Titan you get a little obsessed. So I think for reaching general audience, Attack on Titan would be best, as much as I want to say a romance anime. You want to go next? Have you thought?
I'm going to cheat a little bit and not name an anime. But
Boo.
I think
No, I'm just kidding.
any of the Studio Ghibli movies are a fantastic starting point.
That's a fair point.
That is. I was gonna say Annie. No,
That's true.
No, but yes, I second that.
Yeah, sure.
Especially Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke.
Don't get me started. Don't.
That's just thinking. Yeah, Spirited Away. Very all ages.
I'm
Danielle?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm last, because Shelby has only watched
Yeah.
Pokemon and JoJo, but okay.
And
And Code Geass, which I don't know if I would recommend as the first anime,
Yeah,
but that's just me. Anyway, okay, gosh, this is so tough because I'm gonna have to also kind of cheat and give two that are like neck and neck. I'm so sorry, but I really can't decide.
Yeah,
and
I'm over
one of them you will
fine.
understand why. So the first one that like for most of my friends I recommend is My Hero Academia, just because it's like we have such a superhero culture in Western culture. And so it's like really low barrier entry of like, hey, there's a world and it's like 80% superheroes or people have like some kind of power. Like people can be professional, like your job is to be a superhero. Great, go. And it's just one of those things where like there's a character you're going to connect to. And it's really interesting just because obviously with anime, it's like character growth and progression and seeing people like get better at stuff is always super fun. But as my little segue to the end of the episode, I have to recommend some kind of sports anime. I really don't care what it is. I'm biased toward Haikyuu, but my reasoning is because people who love sports are like, oh, sports, like easy, I like basketball. I'll watch something about basketball, whatever. But at the same time, for people who don't like sports, you get all of the behind the scenes of like character development and like internal monologue. And so it's really neat again for like character progression because it centers like so heavily on like one team and how they want to be the best and get better. And seeing that like over the course of the season is just like really rewarding in my opinion. And that segues into what next week's topic is because I'm going to be hosting and it's going to be all about sports anime and I'm really freaking excited about it. So yeah.
Okay, this one's for you.
Yes.
It's for Dean.
Are there any last thoughts to wrap up, or are we ready to
Go watch
take us all
anime.
out?
Go watch anime. Go.
Okay. Comment your first animes. Let us know what really got you hooked and what would you suggest as a
Recommend me something.
Recommend Shelby something.
Shelby's gonna watch it.
And it can't be Cowboy Bebop.
I've already had that recommended to me like 50 times.
Love Cowboy Bebop.
I love Cowboy Bebop.
I thought you guys were gonna say Inuyasha because that's what I thought was like the obvious pick was Inuyasha for a first time anime. So I was like, I ain't gonna say it because I feel like everyone's gonna say it because that was like everyone's almost like first anime. Like everyone starting out knows Inuyasha. Like the voice actors are dope. Like you get Invader Zim, Megatron's voice. Like you get all the OGs. So I was like, someone's gonna say Inuyasha. Why? And I was like, no one said. Now I just feel bad because like I would have did it for him. Like I would have did it for Shishamaru.
Yeah, most everyone recommends Cowboy Bebop. Like that's like the universal, like first anime, go watch that. So I challenge you to come up with something that's not Cowboy Bebop commenters and also not Studio Ghibli.
And Naruto, please.
Or Naruto.
No Naruto. You have to find no Naruto, no Bleach.
Yep.
None of the mainstream basic, even though those are the biggest ones that get people into it though. Granted, so. But still,
Dig deep.
Not that.
Go into the archives. Oh, I just thought of another one. Dang it. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. Watch Erased. Erased is really good. That was the first anime I made my mom watch and she loved it and wanted to binge watch it until 3 a.m. And I was like, I have work tomorrow. She's like, no, but can't we watch one more? And I was like, I can't. Physically, I cannot.
Welcome to
I cannot wait till we recommend some. Like I have like a few that I'm just like, yo, I really want to tell y'all to watch this, but that's for a different day.
It's just going to be a torrent of comments coming out of our mouth of like, watch this. Like,
someone take a note. Take a Google Doc.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us on our Waifu Watch podcast episode number 2, My First Anime. And join us next time for Danielle's hosting of
Sports anime.
Thanks, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and join us next time. So,
Bye, guys.
We are so cute.
I want my goddamn Chinese food.
Where's our endorsements at? Damn it! We all look like Barbie dolls. We all look like goddamn. We should be.
I'll know we've made it when we can be like, this episode was sponsored by Crunchyroll.
Yeah. Once we start doing sponsorship,
Put in code Waifu Watch for a free 7-day trial. Like
DoorDash, your favorite ramen shop.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we're getting it. We're gonna do it. Ain't no stopping us now.